Hello.
Hello, Will.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful.
That's
Okay.
your picture is very good. I'm afraid my picture is dark because I don't have bulbs in my light. I have to
Okay.
change.
No
I have
problem.
to change them. The connection is very nice, really.
Okay.
And
Well,
is this?
I'm converting most of my students over to Zoom because
Mhm,
Skype has been giving me a lot of problems with. First of all, we can't use video at all. If we
mhm.
use video, I can use it maybe a minute, and I have to get off very quickly, or I lose the connection. And so Skype has really been giving me some problems. So I'm converting most of the students over to the Zoom. And once you've been there one time, it's just a matter of clicking on it. So to enter the classroom.
I need a little bit more time to learn how to use it because I'm not a technology friendly person, but everything is much better than on Skype. I
Yeah,
think.
well, see, we've got all kinds of capabilities here.
Mhm.
For instance, if I wanted to show you my desktop, no problem. Okay, you see exactly what I see. Okay,
Mhm.
so if we wanted to
Yes.
look at my schedule, then we would have this, and we could see that have you scheduled here in Moscow time.
Mhm.
Scheduled at 2200 Moscow time, but we're a little bit late because I had to tell you that I was running late. Okay, uh, but
Yes.
I can open a document and we can talk about the document anytime we want to do. Okay, so we can do proofreading and editing in it, whatever we want to do. So I can run a movie and let you listen to the movie. Let me just 1 second. I'm going to close this one.
It's very convenient, really.
I'm going to stop this share. I'm going to start a new share.
So it's like sharing. I mean, is it going to be sharing a movie?
But it's far more than a typical, okay? So for instance, I'm going to go here, here. And so I'm going to open up a PDF here, okay? So you can read the PDF, right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to go back and we're going to play the video at the same time. Ready?
1, 2, 3,
Three,
4.
four. Beavers. Beavers are busy, busy like me and you. Busy beavers. I'm a busy beaver. Are you a busy beaver too? I'm a busy, busy, busy beaver. I'm a busy beaver, yes, it's true. Busy beavers. We are busy beavers. Are you a busy beaver too?
This is a very good, platform.
Yeah.
Because when I want my students to watch videos, so I send them a link, then very often they have to, this Skype platform doesn't work properly. We
Yep.
lose the connection. Then we have to take some precautions before watching movies.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for sharing this with me because I have to learn about it first.
Okay.
It will take some time. When I started working with Skype, my son was explaining how to do it to me, like he got furious about my stupidity, but after some time I learned, and I think I will learn using Zoom.
So all you need to do is go to Zoom, zoom.us, and sign up for an account.
And you can actually use the Zoom to do telephone-to-telephone connections and everything else. Now, there are two things that Zoom lacks in, okay?
Is it this one, Zoom.us?
Yeah, Zoom.us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's two things that Zoom lacks, and they do not have the capability of sending a document in the classroom. They have the capability, but you have to go out of the classroom to do it. So I use Skype. If I need to send a document, I simply drop it into Skype, and I tell the students, don't run your Zoom at maximum size. Run it just a little less so you can look at something else at the same time. So that is one of the faults. Also, if you use the Zoom chat, it has a chat, but the chat pops up in front of the window. So you have to continuously keep fighting the chat window to get it out of your way. So I used Skype for the chat. So if I'm doing text chat, I use Skype. If I'm sending files, I use Skype. And I can use them both, okay? The only thing I can't do is I cannot have the microphone connected to both of them, okay?
I see. Okay. I have I have a few questions today about writing an informal letters because in Russian schools students, when they take English exams, they have to write an informal letter to a PayPal, even though it's, you know, writing paper letters is old-fashioned. Still, they give this task at the exams in Russia. And usually it's, the task includes, the task goes like this. You received a letter from your PayPal from England. He or she...
Oh, you're saying pen pal.
Pen pal.
Pen pal. I was hearing PayPal.
I think I mixed up.
Pen pal, okay.
Because PayPal is used too often. Pen pal, yes. And so you received a letter, and then they give a small piece, a small extract from the letter, like I'm going to buy a pet, for example, and I need your advice. What pet to buy it in a shelter or in an animal shelter or in a pet shop, and recommend me how to look after the pet. And this is a typical task, and it could be, I'm going to have a party next week. Give me some advice, what food to bring or what food to buy, what entertainments what kind of entertainment to organize, and to have a party outside or inside. And so, of course, I teach my students to read the pen pal first. Pen pal.
Actually, it's two words, okay? And just like they told you, we do run our words together, but they have their unique stresses. Pen pal.
Pen pal.
Pen pal.
Pen pal.
So, no, it's not pen pal. It's pen pal.
Pen pal.
So we don't drop the voice because we have the extra word. I can't make my fingers exactly equal, but they have their natural stress. Yes, we don't put space between them. Pen pal.
Pen pal.
So where your teachers made the mistake in teaching, we said pal. We don't. We say we can take 5 words quite often and put them all together into one group of sounds, but each word still retains its distinct stresses.
Okay. Pen pal. Pen pal.
With no space between them. Pen pal.
Pen pal. Pen pal. Right. Okay. So a friend. Then, the letter starts with saying hello, like hi, Will, for example, comma, and then thanks for your letter. And the next sentence should be they should go to the first question, to the first advice, but somehow they have to introduce the topic. So what are the best phrases? What phrases would you suggest to use here?
Okay, now I don't like the idea of having canned phrases, okay? Because they come out to sound like canned phrases. It's just like any other writing, whether it's formal or informal. Our first 30 seconds, the first line in our first paragraph should tell the reader what I'm going to do, what this letter is about, okay? Okay, then we have a couple of more sentences of supporting information to continue telling the reader what it's about. We have 30 seconds to get the reader's attention. Okay, they may or may not read it with intention if we don't use the first attention paragraph, just like in any other writing. Okay, they say the same thing in your ELTS writing and business writing, whatever. We've got the first paragraph. We have to say, hello, here I am. Look at me. Okay, so this is what I want. Then we usually have a separate idea in each paragraph. So each paragraph contains sentences, and each sentence is one thought that supports the idea of that paragraph. Okay, we want to keep them in order so that they come down in an orderly fashion. Okay, we don't want them bouncing around. Okay, so we progress from one thought to the next, one idea to the next, and at the end, just like with any other writing, we're going to write a summary. We don't use the words in summary, but in fact, that's what we're doing. We're saying, here's what I want you to remember from this letter, okay? And then we say, yours truly, or forever yours, or whatever is appropriate, okay? So there is no major difference. The only difference between the informal letter and the formal letter is whether we put a comma or a semicolon, and whether we say, dear sir, or hi, Bill, and the type of language we use, whether we use the stilted grammatical language or whether we use everyday language, okay? Not much difference in them. But the technology, the method is not phrases, okay? It's in the informal letter we want to use informal language.
Yes, of course. Oh, I just wanted to write a sample, for example, with this pet, how an American teenager would give some advice to his friend to buy a dog, for example, or to go to a pet shelter.
So I'm going to invent a letter, okay? So my friend's name is Bill. Hi, Bill. I need some advice about buying a new dog. I know you know a lot about dogs, so I think you'd be the best person to help me. Period. End of paragraph. New paragraph, okay? I was thinking of buying a Dachshund, okay? What do you think about Dachshunds? You think that's a good idea? Where could I get a Dachshund? Could I get a Dachshund maybe rescue shelter, or would I have to go to a pet store? So I've given you 3 or 4 paragraphs already, okay? But each one of those is one idea. They follow in sequence, okay? So, and then we come whatever I've run down about dog food and, whatever else I decide to put in there. And I finally say, Bill, I know you've been very good about this kind of thing, so I'm really looking forward to hearing your ideas on this. So give me a letter as soon as you can and let me know what to do, okay? In summary.
Yes, but this is the task actually. In Russian books, it's a task. Then what kind of answer could be, what kind of phrases can I use? Like, oh, I'm so happy to learn that you are going to buy a pet? Or
That would be Bill's answer, okay? You could see, but I don't very often hear Bill saying, I'd be so happy to, okay? I hear Bill saying, I'm glad.
I'm glad
Or a
to
good
hear.
idea, even.
A good idea, or I'm glad.
The only thing is you're just looking for phrases, and it's not the idea of the phrase. It's using the informal language that we would use if you're talking to Bill. So, you know, in a business letter, this is the very same thing. If you try using phrases in a business letter, you're going to have a letter that looks like you wrote a bunch of phrases. So you can go to the internet and find a half a dozen phrases and connect them all together, and the business letter is going to get ignored because they have no meaning. Okay. So the only difference between a business letter and an essay is that the business letter begins with the salutation for a business letter, and it's much shorter. But it needs to follow a logical sequence, just like any essay you'd write. It needs to use the language of that business, whatever it is. And you know, if I'm talking about gardening things, and I use the technology language of a computer geek, it'd be very inappropriate. But I would need to use the right language for that business. But this is the problem. People memorize a lot of phrases, okay? And writing is simply a matter of putting your thoughts on paper. And so let me tell you a little story, okay? So I am a high school dropout, okay? I dropped out of school when I finished my 9th year of school. I did not finish in the public schools in the United States. Okay. And so I pumped gas for a while and cleaned bottles in a apothecary, a pharmacy for a while, and various other things. And so eventually, I made the smart decision that I was going to join the United States Navy. I did. In the Navy, I got my high school diploma. I got my college equivalency. The Navy sent me to Auburn University to get an engineering degree in electrical engineering, and I actually have my master's degree in management now. But I made one smart decision. Okay. But important point was that before I went to my college, okay, before I went to the University of Auburn University, I never wrote anything. Never. It never wrote letters to home because writing was very uncomfortable for me. If I did write, it was all one group of words, no paragraphs, no sentences, just words, okay? And if I accidentally put a period on the paper, it's because I stopped to think for a minute. That's probably an appropriate place to put a period. But my writing was terrible, okay? And so I went before I went to college, the Navy sent us to a preparatory school because most of the people who went to that program had been out of school for a long time. And so we went back for a refreshment. Well, I wasn't refreshing. I didn't finish the 9th grade, okay? And so I was learning. But somehow I managed, when I went to the university and took their entrance exam, I managed to score high enough on the English exam to go to English for superior students. Okay, and the very first day we walked into class, and a teacher I will never forget, she's about this tall, and little tiny lady, her name was Dr. Darachet, a French name. And I will never forget that little tiny lady because I spent more time in her office than I did in my home. But at any rate, the very first day she had 3 subjects written on the blackboard. And she said, I want you to write an essay on one of those 3 subjects and turn it into the class. Well, I mean, I had enough knowledge of writing in English and all of the methods and things that they said, outlining what you're going to do and all those details. And so I sit with a blank piece of paper for 50 minutes, 40 minutes of the 50-minute class, and did nothing. I put nothing on the paper. And so in the last 10 minutes, I hurriedly scribbled something on the paper that, and at the end of the class, I turned it in. Well, the next class, she handed all the papers back, and she had apparently obviously taken notes, because she was talking and saying, you know, well, Jane, I like what you said about blah, 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 but do you agree that blah, blah, blah? And, hey, Jim, do you agree with that? And she was calling people by names and all those things, but I didn't get a paper back. So I had no paper at all. She didn't give me a paper back. So I didn't say a word. At the end of the class, I stopped by her desk and I said, you must have overlooked my paper. She said, no, Weldon. Said, we didn't overlook it. Said, I have it right here. Said, we talked to the head of the English department, and we agree that you've earned the right to stay here, but if you like, we can put you back into what we call dummy English, okay, basic English. And I had already heard how fortunate I was not to have to take dummy English. So I said, well, no, I'll stay here. So this course was mostly about writing. And that poor lady screamed at me for an entire semester, if you're going to write, start putting words on the paper. And I would not, okay? And because all of the things I had learned in the past from my English grammar teacher, I had to organize, I had to outline, I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to know everything I was going to do, and then I had to write what I had, okay? And I just couldn't put it all together, okay? And finally it dawned on me. She said, get your pencil out and start writing. So it finally dawned on me that what she was trying to tell me. She screamed at me several times in frustration. Little tiny lady. And so eventually I did learn what she meant. And so what I did is I began writing. When I had a subject to write about, I simply wrote words, okay? I got the words on the paper, and back in those days when we said cut and paste, that's what we meant. We took the scissors and cut out the partial phrases and pasted them on a new piece of paper, okay? And we took the pencil and we wrote things in between. We left some of the papers out that we didn't use. And we got that. We wrote, we cut it again and put more in between, pasted more in until we got it organized the way we wanted it. Okay, then I wrote whatever I had to write. And so I actually, before that college was ended, I not only finished the English for superior students with very high scores in the last few terms, but I also took a graduate level course while I was still an undergrad, which was writing for publication. And it was a term, and so actually 2 terms actually. We had to write and publish a paper. So we had to write a paper that could be published. And so I wrote my paper and I got an A+ on it. The subject of my paper was English grammar, pedantics or learning. Okay. And my thesis was that English grammar is only pedantics. You learn nothing with it, okay? But short story is, for the rest of my career, when they needed someone in every job I was in to write something, talking about multi-million-dollar and even billion-dollar contract documents, they came to me to do the writing, okay? And I developed a method of writing. So take out a piece of paper, please. You got a blank piece of paper? Scratch paper?
Yes.
So draw a line right through the middle of it. Okay? So on the left, pick a subject, whatever the subject is you want to write, okay? On the left, start throwing words on the paper vertically. Just words. Just write them as fast as you can. Don't even write the whole word, write parts of words, okay? Okay, then when you got about 20 words on the left side, okay, then you begin copying the words from the left side to the right side of your paper, but now you organize them. You need a beginning paragraph, okay, tells me what I'm going to read, okay? So we put a group of words there, okay? Now we need a first important paragraph, a positive paragraph about what we're going to say. Then we need our second thought. We need our third thought. Then we need a negative rebuttal, so we put the rebuttal finally. Then we need our final summary, our summary paragraph, our ending paragraph. So I put groups of words, okay? I copy them over to the right side. It's okay if I think of something that I didn't write down on the left side. When I put them on the right side, I put them in order, okay? Okay. And so eventually I leave some out. I don't transfer them from the left to right. I don't use them all. I'm writing from the words that I copied from the left to the right. Okay, and then when I finish with moving all the words to the right side, then I take a new piece of paper and I start writing, okay? But I don't have to organize my writing because my writing is now organized. I know what the subject is. I've already thought about it, okay? So let me talk about the human reaction. When I say write all the words on the left side as fast as I can write, that's right brain activity, okay? So we know the right brain has got a tremendously big memory, but it's very disorganized, right? So we're scribbling words on the left as fast as we can. It's coming out of the right brain, okay? Okay, then we move from left brain to right brain, okay, from left side to right side. Now we're using the left brain, which is the logical brain, okay, to organize them in groups, okay? To add new thoughts that we had not pulled out of here, okay? To delete some things we don't think belong there, okay? So we've used both sides of the brain, okay, and the strengths of both sides of the brain, and there's a reason why we put it left to right there because of the way the brain works. Brain always works opposite, okay? And so when we finish, we have a completely organized document in maybe 50 words, okay? And now all we have to do is put the verbs and gerunds and the nouns around it, and we're through, okay?
Right. Yes, this is the best method to start writing any
Well, whether we're doing speaking for ELTS or TOEFL, or writing for them, or academic writing, the method remains the same. And the reason why most of the people have problems with those exams, first of all, is they don't know the English language, which we have to learn that before they can go any further, okay? But if they understand and can use the language and they have problems passing those exams, they have one of two problems, okay? One is a time management problem, and two, it's an organization problem, okay? Okay,
Yes.
and the using the little left side, right side of the paper work for both, because most of the time management, because they're sitting there thinking instead of writing, okay? And the organization will happen when we move it to the left or the right side. So I could take someone who has good skills in English and has problems passing the exam, and after practicing with that technique a few dozen times, they can do it very easily.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether we're talking about an informal letter to Bill or an academic writing for TOEFL, it's all the same thing, okay? Or if we're talking about a contract that's going to be, 10 volumes this thick, okay, it's still the same thing, okay? Just more words.
Well, this is interesting that when you studied at your college and then at university, right, you learned how to write essays. You had a lot of English classes of the English language. But your specialization was not a kind of philology or something like that. Is that correct?
Well, again, in my high school, okay, the school that I dropped out of, okay, I had a lot of English grammar teachers, okay? They spent all the time teaching me the meta language of English grammar, okay? And yes, they tried to teach me to write. Okay, and school was so boring to me, I quit school while I was in 9th grade, okay? The minute I was legally able to leave the school at 16 years of age, I left, okay? Okay, then when I went to college, I managed to get a English teacher who taught me that ignore everything they taught me in high school, okay? And began writing, okay? And so I spent several, I will always choose her. I spent, I think, 6 terms with her. And then when I got with the second professor, when I did the 2 terms for the professional writing, the writing for publication, he was also kept his feet on the ground because I got an A+ for the paper that I said, and also got published, by the way, in the Journal of English. But I got an A+ for that paper when I said that English grammar was pedantics and not learning, okay? So I had some people that really kind of agreed with me that English is not about all the rules on the meta language. Okay, remember I told you, I think, that my Spanish teacher has a saying that I have adapted as my own. He says, don't try to learn to speak, speak to learn.
Yeah, but when you were talking about your studies, I was recalling my studies at university. And in Russian universities, like if you go to study philology, then you will have a lot of classes of the Russian language and other foreign languages. But if you study like technical things or sciences, then the program doesn't include any language classes, I mean any native language classes. Only we only studied some English. It was like reading the because my first higher education is in geology, and when I studied at university, all the subjects were around geology. Nothing from the Russian language. We didn't study the Russian language. We only studied some English, readings.
We were not required. I was in the Bachelor of Electrical Engineering program. We were required to take English. We were required to take 6 terms of English. Okay, 4 of them I took. You can take the basic English. You had two terms that you could take as an elective. But I took the 4 English for advanced for superior students with Dr. Darachet, and then I took the 2 terms as electives in the graduate studies division for my creative writing. But that was after when I started, I couldn't write 2 words. Okay.
Which is great because in Russian universities, all the subjects are. I mean, we have a program and the subjects are obligatory. We don't have selective subjects and we don't choose. Somebody chooses for us.
Well, typically they give us, we have a core that you have to take, okay? And they actually give us some flexibility about what order we take them in, whether we take this one or that one. Sometimes they give us 2 choices for the core, or that one or this one. For instance, in my electrical engineering, in the core for electrical engineering, I actually took 1 course. It was in mechanical engineering, okay? But it was part of engineering, okay, using the calculus to calculate the mechanical movements of things, whatever, okay? So we had the core, but we also have a certain number of electives you have to take. There are electives in that you have to choose from a group of lessons, but you must take them. You can't say, I don't want to take that, okay? In my school, they each one vary a little bit. In my school, we had to take 4 terms of the English. We had 2 choices. We could take 4 terms of basic English, we could take 4 terms of English for superior students, if we qualify for English for superior students. And then we had to take 2 other elective English courses, and they had a list of the things that we could take, okay? And so actually the one that I took was not on the list of the English electives. I actually went to the head of the English department and said, I would like to join this graduate program here. See, I'm an undergraduate at this point. So this was a doctor's degree program that they were, I was doing the creative writing for. And I went to the head of the English department and said I would like to join that class for my 2 electives. And so he said, okay. He wrote me on a slip, put it in my record. And so I took those 2. Of course, by then I knew him well because I'd been to his office a few times.
This is impossible in Russia. In Russian universities, it's absolutely impossible. We never don't have these electives. Do you call them electives or selectives?
Electives, yeah.
Electives, yeah, electives.
We have the required courses and the electives.
And it's not wise when students do not study their own language. I mean, it's very strange. Whatever science you study at university, you still have to know how to speak the language and how to write your own language.
Well, I have to take a disagreement with that because the people who took the basic English, they were in the world after we finished school, and they were no better at English than the day they went in. Okay, they knew a few more meta language words of English grammar, but they were no better at using the language than the day they started. Okay, I was very fortunate in that I got dropped into Dr. Derishay's class, which was very creative and very stimulating. And so instead of coming out totally bored, which the other people in the dummy English were, instead of leaving the English lessons very bored and getting by with whatever I could, usually they took some kind of a reading course for the extra 2. Electives in English. Instead of doing that, I got very interested in the English that she was teaching because she was teaching not using the meta language of the grammar. And she was teaching us real English, and I was learning it, I was enjoying it, I was getting somewhere with it for the first time in my life. And when I finished with her course, I was not just satisfied to go take some of those 4 other electives I could have taken. I want to go higher, okay? And so I actually went and talked to the head of the department and said, I want to take that course, okay? He said, okay, you think you're up to it? I said, yes, sir, you're on.
I still think you have to write a book, memoirs about your life. I don't know why you're not doing that.
That would be a very, very, very thick book.
Yes. But I'm sure it will be very successful. And you know how to write. You are a specialist in writing, and you have a lot to write.
Yeah, that would be a very, very thick book. I would
think about it.
I could spend the rest of my life writing that one.
Okay. I'm afraid we have to stop here. Thank you very much for today's class. Okay. Thank you. And I haven't listened to the recording yet. Sorry, but I will tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I will be sending you both recordings from this one. I will send you both the video recording and the audio only, so you can choose which one you want to keep. Okay.
All right.
So I'll send you a zip file with both recordings, okay? And so the video can get pretty large, okay? And sometimes talking heads are boring, okay? But anyway, you'll have an opportunity to look at the video or listen to the audio only, okay? So thank you for your patience in allowing me to be late today.
Oh, thank you very much for classes. I'm really so happy that I have this opportunity.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.